and welcome back to my channel. I'm Donna Maria, the founder and CEO at the Indie Business Network, and welcome to the Online Business Success Show, where we empower you to break all the rules, build your own corporate ladder, and create the life you love on purpose in your business. I hope you guys are doing well today. If you're here live, I'll be looking for you in the comments. If you are watching the replay, I hope you'll watch all the way through because I have some awesome tips to share with you. Let me just tell you why I got this idea. I was listening to a couple of entrepreneurs the other day, just kind of listening to them as they were talking to each other on a podcast. It was a podcast where there were a lot of small business owners talking, and they were talking about like just a whole lot of things, and they were so excited and on fire for the start of their businesses. And I was listening to them and I was so excited for them, but I started thinking I really wished I had been involved in that conversation because I had so many things to share that I think would have been helpful. So I thought, oh, I'll just share them on my own show because you are here and I want to empower you. So the ideas that they were talking about were really like, what are the things that you need to do to be successful in your business? And I could tell that that they were super excited and on fire, but honestly, hadn't really given a whole lot of thought to some of the things that are more mundane about entrepreneurship. Like it's not all fun and doing Instagram and going live on YouTube and so forth. Those are some awesome things and they will help your business grow. But the real stuff, like the real deal that gives you not just a business, you guys, I don't want you to just have a business. I want you to have a long-term business. Like I've been in business for 2 decades. 2 decades. Like I want you to have a track record. I want you to have fun in your business. I want you to love it so much that 2 decades can go by, as it has for me, and you still feel like it's day one because you love serving your clients and customers so much that you could just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. That's what I want for you because that's what creates the legacy. That's what creates the long-term impact that you personally through your business get to have in the world. So today we're going to be talking about 7 things that I really want you to hone in on as you're starting your business or expanding your business or tweaking your business. And do this especially now that we are kind of in the midst of a really challenging time in our history. This is a really good time to double down on some of these things because you're probably seeing, when I get to them, you'll probably see that some of them are vulnerabilities in your business and things that you haven't thought about that have kind of been holding you back for a while, but now you might have a little bit more time and probably a little bit more requirement or a little bit more motivated to actually plug the holes in your business than you might have been in the past. So the 7 things. Okay, so the first thing is I want you to make sure that your business actually complements your life. All right, don't start or continue a business, even if it's profitable, even if it's successful, even if you have 1 million customers, if it's dragging you down in your life. So let me give you an example. The first time I quit my job, because I did it twice, I quit my job twice to start 2 different businesses before I quit it the third time to start the Indie Business Network. Before I quit my job, I didn't give any thought to this. Like I just quit my job to do something that I liked, that I thought was fun, that I thought would motivate me every morning and get me up and get me so excited that I would just want to do it forever. But I didn't think it through. Okay, so what did I do? I ended up starting a retail store. All right, and it was a wonderful part of town. I had a lot of foot traffic outside my front door. I had really good neighbors and the small little chamber of commerce that we had. It was a lot of fun, but here's the thing. I didn't think about the fact that retailers have to be concerned about things like, oh, shoplifting. Never gave it a second thought until what? I got shoplifted, right? A ton of stuff was taken from my store because I didn't have my eyes open. I wasn't looking for it. I had no retail store training, so I didn't think a second about it until, $500 or $600 worth of inventory was gone and it was uninsured and there was nothing I could do about it. And that was a huge hit for me that month. So That was one thing. I hadn't thought about like those sorts of things. The other big thing, and this is like the hugest thing of all, was I hadn't thought about the fact that if you run a retail store, you've got to do things like actually physically be there. Now, if you have a large retail store, you don't have to be there, but I was just getting started and I was the owner and the buck stopped with me and I didn't have a huge budget. I hired somebody to work on Saturdays and then I was closed on Sundays. So I did kind of have my weekends free, but the rest of the week I was stuck at the store. And while I liked it most days, I can remember one time my next door neighbor, store owner, and we were so depressed because no one was in our stores when we weren't making any money. I remember we sat down on the sofa in my little shop and had a cup of tea and we just cried because we didn't have any customers and we felt like powerless to do anything about it. It was funny now that I'm looking back on it, but it was really pitiful at the time. I had to stay there even though I was miserable that day. And I had to go to my store even when I wanted to stay at home and do something else. And I couldn't work my store from wherever I wanted to be. And I discovered something about myself, that being able to work from wherever I wanted to work was super, super important to me. And therefore, a retail store was not the place for me. It was not the business model for me. And if I had thought that through a little bit before I like quit my job, jumped ship, had no other income, just left, then I probably would have started a business of a different sort. Or maybe I wouldn't have started a business at all at that time. I don't know what I would have done. However, what I do know in 20 years of hindsight is that one of the first things you want to make sure you do is start a business that complements your life, that fits your personality, that suits you, so that you will get up and do that business when you don't feel like it, right? Because it more complements your style, more complements your personality, and therefore you are more inclined to take the steps every day that you might not feel like taking, because they are steps that you can kind of incorporate into your life in a more natural way. So that's the first thing I want to make sure you do. The second thing I want you to do is to adjust your brain to serve the one customer you have and not focus on the 1,000 that you don't have. Okay, so let me tell you what I mean by this. So often, and I mean all the time, I talk with people who tell me things like this. Well, I only have like 40 Instagram followers, or, I only have 25 subscribers to my email newsletter. And, I'm trying to build that up, but it's really hard and it seems to be taking a long time. And I'm like, okay, so what are you doing for the 25 that you have? What are you doing for the 40 that you have? Like, that's almost 100 people. That's almost 100 people, which could be almost 100 sales. Like, what are you doing to serve the few? Don't worry so much about trying to acquire the many, right? Because we all know, and in case you don't know, I'm going to tell you, it costs way less resources, both your time and your money and your energy too, to maintain a current buyer than it does to get a new one. Okay. So if you can serve one person over and over and over again well, then you don't ever have to worry about the hundreds or thousands of people, because you know what? They will come. They will come. You know why? Because the one person is going to tell their friends, and they're going to tell their friends, and they're going to tell their friends, and so forth. And all you have to do is worry about serving that one person. They will have a different address. As your business grows, it'll turn into 100 people, but they'll basically be the same person for you, the same message, the same branding, the same conversation, the same engagement. One person, 1,000, 100,000, and so forth times over. But I want you to really start to remember that it is not important to worry about the people that you don't have within your sphere of influence. What is important is to serve the people that are in your sphere of influence. And if you can adjust your mindset to do that and keep plugging away when there's only one person, two people, 3, 4, 5, 6 watching, then eventually you're going to be able to double that and triple it and quadruple it and so forth. And you're going to be able to grow your business in a way that is more organic, more personal to you, more satisfying to you, and without worrying and having all the headache that's associated with what you don't have, because you are focusing on what you do have. All right, so that's the second thing. The third thing I want you to do is to, let me look at my notes here real quick. I want you to stop thinking and start doing, okay? This is so important because one of the things, again, as I was listening to this wonderful podcast that I was hearing over and over and over again was ideas. Like ideas. Oh, and we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. And I was thinking, yes, you could do all those things, but those ideas don't matter. They do not matter. What matters is what you've done. What matters is what you do. And if you want to have a business, that's really all that matters. People aren't going to talk about what you're thinking about doing. They're going to talk about what you're doing. They're not going to go on their Instagram or on their newsletter or their blog or their podcast and say, wow, look at what Donna Maria is thinking about doing. That's such a great idea. No, they're going to go over there and say, wow, look at what Donna Maria is doing and how it's helping other people. It was really good and you should go watch. Or whatever it is, you should go buy, or you should go listen, or whatever the case may be, you should follow. All right. So people don't care what you're thinking about doing because ideas are a dime a dozen, probably not even a dime anymore with the internet. Ideas are like a penny a dozen now, maybe not even that much. What really matters is what you do. What you do. So I think Seth Godin, who is a great blogger, if you haven't heard of him, not just a great blogger, he blogs every day. But he is a supremely genius entrepreneurial and marketing mind, Seth Godin, Godin. And one of the things he says is that every day you need to ship. You need to ship every day. So it's not just like shipping products or whatever, although if you make products, that's important. But the shipping of something, like ship it out every day, ship something out, ship some content out, ship some ideas out, ship out a podcast, ship out a new launch, ship out a blog post, whatever it might be, a YouTube video, right? Every day be shipping. Take days off, of course, but every work day be shipping, be getting it out there into the world, because that's what really matters, okay? Not what you're thinking about doing, not all the great ideas you have, because there's not enough time in the world for any of us to execute on all the ideas we have. They're just too many, especially if you're a creative entrepreneur like me. Some of them are going to have to end up on the cutting room floor. It's just the way it is. It's just not enough hours in the day. But what I want you to do is be thinking about making sure that you're shipping every day and not so much about thinking about all the new ideas and so forth that you have every day. All right? The next thing I want you to make sure that you're doing is being consistent. Okay? Be consistent. Now, this does not mean that you don't start things every now and then and say, you know what, that didn't work. I'm not going to do that anymore. That's different. What I'm talking about is once you decide that you are going to do something in your business and that you've tried it long enough to know that it's working, or you know it's something that you need to do in your business, don't stop doing it after 3 tries, 4 tries, and then say that didn't work for me. Okay, that happens a lot, and I hear that a lot. So another example, using email newsletters and email marketing, which is so important and foundational to the success of every business. Oftentimes what I hear people say is, you know, I'm struggling with my email newsletter. And I'm like, I've been publishing an email newsletter for 20 years. How can I help you? Well, you know, it's just not going very well. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean exactly? Do you have an email newsletter? Yes, I do. Well, tell me about it. Well, I actually have an account at such and such an email newsletter service. And I'm like, that's not an email newsletter. That's an account at such and such an email newsletter service. When was the last time you sent your newsletter out? And usually, well, oftentimes there is a pause, which basically means they don't remember, which happens a lot. So what I'm talking about here is just because you've done it once or twice does not mean that you're doing it. And just because you've only done it 3 or 4 times does not mean that it's supposed to work. You guys, you have got to, as I said a second ago, ship it. You have got to ship when no one's watching. You have got to perform when no one's looking. You have got to build the runway to that, because let me tell you, people do not care. They do not care until you care. All right? They do not care until you care. Because here's another example. Facebook groups, which are huge and wonderful. I've had Facebook groups for over a decade. I love them for certain things, not for others, but they are extremely powerful. They're like little petri dishes that your brand can thrive in. They are incredibly awesome. If you like Facebook, right? And if your customers are on Facebook, which everyone's on Facebook. So your customers are definitely there, but that's a whole nother discussion. I think I might have to have a video about that. But anyway, listen. So if you have a Facebook group, you're going to have to show up in that group regularly before people are going to start talking to you. Like, and I hear this a lot, like people might have 70 or 100 people in a Facebook group. Okay, that may not sound like a lot, but it is a really good start because, as I said before, 100 people could be 100 sales, right? Which is not bad, in a day or two's work or even a week's work, right? So if you have a community like that that is focused on your brand and those people are there, well, they're not going to be showing up to have fun in your Facebook group and just post what's on their mind. They're going to look to you to set the tone for that community. They're going to look to you to show up. And they might even look to you to show up and not say anything on purpose because they want to see if you're going to come back the next day. Okay, because people don't want to waste their time. And there are so many Facebook groups out there. People are a member of a billion of them. Sometimes they're like members of hundreds of them. They don't pay attention to them oftentimes. Why? Because people start groups and then do nothing with them. Like I've been guilty, okay? Because sometimes it takes a while to get things off the ground. Sometimes it's not the right thing. You got to pivot, you got to tweak and all those things. But once you decide that it's something that you want to do, you've got to be consistent with it and you have to do it when no one is watching because that's when people start to see that you're committed. Okay, they see you keep coming back. They see that they saw you yesterday and they didn't pay much attention to it, but then you came back 48 hours, 24 hours later and you had something else to share with them. And then they saw you do it again and then they saw you do it again. If they're at all interested in what it is that you're talking about, and they wouldn't have joined the group if they weren't, right? If they're at all interested in it, at some point they're going to pause, they're going to click, and they're going to take a closer look. But only if you are showing up first. You have to be committed first. You have to be serving them when they don't even know you're serving them. And that is a huge component to being successful long-term in a business. And I want to make sure that you embrace that because it's so important that you really, really make consistency a part of the requirements that you set in your own mindset and in your own your own planner, whatever kind of way you plan your life or plan your business, that consistency is a key. All right. The next thing is your mindset. I just said it. Okay. Your mindset. All right. Too many people that I have observed are hobbying. They are hobbying. They are not serious. And what has happened with the current pandemic that we're involved in right now is the problem with hobbying is brought to the surface. Like there's nothing there. There's no consistency there. There are no systems there. They're just like doing things that they like to do because they like to do them. And while that's nice, and there's nothing wrong with having a hobby, not a single thing. If you have decided that you want to have a business, you have to flip a switch in your brain. You have to flip from hobbying to actually making sure that you know how much money you're making. What are your costs? How are you going to market your business? What systems are you going to put into your business? And all of this stuff does not happen. It doesn't fall in on you in a neat little package, right? Start a business, then you're going to start a system and all this stuff. It doesn't happen that way. What you end up doing is you end up taking small actions every day that accumulate into something that actually becomes a business. And this is why it's so important for your mindset to be focused on running your business like a business. Like it's not optional. Once you've decided, for example, email newsletters, once you've decided to have one, it can't be optional. It can't be when you feel like it. It can't be when you have something to sell. It can't be Christmas. Like, oh my goodness. I can tell you guys what I'm seeing right now in the middle of this pandemic. I'm getting emails from people. I have been subscribed to their lists for a long time. Never hear from them. Why? Because they're all over Instagram. They've been all over all the third-party tools like YouTube, all over Facebook and everything. And suddenly it's the middle of a pandemic and they realize that all the funnish type things they've been doing that have, kind of sometimes produced sales, but maybe not, they better get into somebody's inbox in their email and actually have a conversation with them. They better create some kind of one-on-one with people so that they can actually have a conversation with them, so that they can engage with them. And these emails are plopping into my inbox from everywhere, from people who are saying things like this. Here's an example, and this is a real example. Dear Donna Maria, oh my goodness, we just did an audit of our email, and we realized that for some reason you haven't been getting our emails for some long period of time. So we just wanted to say we're sorry, and we want to make sure you get back on the list. And I'm thinking, that is so disingenuous. Like, that is crazy disingenuous to me. Now, I suppose there's a chance that it's true, but 9 times out of 10, you guys, when that happens, nobody's been missing the emails. They haven't been sending them out. And what that says to me is, oh, suddenly I'm important now that we're in the middle of a pandemic. You don't want to treat your potential customers that way. You don't want to treat your prospects that way. You don't want to treat the people who have gone to the trouble of giving you their email address, which is hugely valuable. You don't want to go to the trouble of you don't want them to feel like they went to the trouble of sharing their personal information with you, and you've sat on it for months or years. And suddenly, now that you realize you've never been in touch with them, and it's more important than ever, pandemic, to be in touch with them so you can let them know you want to sell them stuff, suddenly you're making up all these stories about like, how come you've never emailed them before? Okay, you don't want to be that business. You do not want to be that entrepreneur. And that's why it's so important to have the mindset to make sure that you are really, really in it to win it for your business in your head first, and then you'll be able to execute and manifest the vision and the mission that you have for your business as you move forward. So the last thing is, let's see my notes here, just a second. Oh, this is important too. Like, it's all important, right? Okay. Know that you are a publisher. That is your new job if you have a business. Now, I wrote a blog post, oh my goodness, I think it was like 2010. So a full decade ago, called Your New Career Publisher. All right. If you Google Your New Career publisher, my blog post will show up. I think it was about 10 years ago over at my Indie Business Network blog. And it was really short. And all it said was, you're a publisher. I don't care what you sell. I don't care what kind of business you have. You're a publisher. And if you're not publishing one-to-many on some platform, then your business is just not going to work. It's just ultimately not going to work. And the first time I really said this to someone, it was a client that I had probably around the time that this blog post was written. And she was starting a business. She had lovely product photos. It was an aromatherapy business. She was an aromatherapist. She had lovely skincare line with essential oils, and it was fantastic, packaged beautifully. She'd spent a ton of money on her product photos. I remember that. She had someone designing her website, and I was kind of helping her get started with her marketing and really kind of putting systems in place so that she could actually start generating some sales. And I said to her, you need an email newsletter. She was like, oh, okay. She wasn't too excited about that. So I explained why it was important, of course. And now, by this time, I had been publishing an email newsletter for over 5 or 6 years. So I knew how important it was. And she said, and I quote, I remember this like it was yesterday. And I cried when she said this to me because I knew what it meant. I knew the business was going to go nowhere. I knew it. This is what she said to me. Donna Maria, I did not go in business to become a publisher. And I remember thinking, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. And she didn't get it. And within a year, she was out of business. I don't know what she's doing now. But the truth of the matter is, and this is hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, okay? You may want to do the thing that you love all day long. If you make a certain type of product, it may be so much fun and you want to do it all the time, all the time, all the time. You might also have a desire to serve people in a certain way. All right, you have a service that you want to provide that's going to be so great, and you're passionate about it, and you're ready to go, like you're ready to hit the ground running. Okay, of course, I can imagine you feel that way if you're watching the Online Business Success Show, right? Probably so. But here's the thing: you have to, in your mindset, you got to know you're a publisher. And what do publishers do? They publish content, but they don't just publish content. They publish a certain type of content to their target audience that is basically the same conversation, the same core conversations over and over and over again, and they do it consistently and generally on a schedule, right? The Oprah show came on at 4 o'clock p.m. every single day for 20 years in Washington, D.C., where I grew up. That was it. Okay, it might be a different show every day, a different guest and everything, but it was every single day, every single weekday at the same time. All right, your favorite radio shows, same time, same day of the week, right? What do they say? Same bat channel, same bat station, right? It's the same thing over and over and over again. And you have got to be able to put that stuff on system. You have got to be able to put it on the regular, all right? Or it's just not going to work. Okay. So of course we want to have a great business. We want to ship our products. We want to serve the people. We want to spend time, if we're a life coach, we want to spend time coaching. We want to do all the things that we really love to do so we can break all the rules, build our own corporate ladder, right? And create the life we love on purpose. But the first thing you've got to do is to really think about some of these things that are not as sexy. They are not as exciting, but they are the backbone. They make things work in your business. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have questions or comments, I hope you'll post them because I will come back personally and I will respond. If you have a question, how do I create this mindset? How do I create an email system? How do I make sure that I understand that I'm a publisher? And I'll go ahead and post a link to that post down here as well for those of you who might be interested if you're not familiar with it. It's really, really important. And again, I think probably if I were to choose one thing that was the most important out of all the 7 that I chose tonight, I don't know if I could. I think it would have to be 2. In conclusion, I'll tell you what those 2 are. The first is to make sure that you create a business that complements your life. And the second is to focus on that one customer to the exclusion of all the thousands you don't have. Focus on that one. If you focus on that one, you will be able to grow your consistency and your engagement with that one person is going to win them over so much that you will be able to come out with a glowing testimonial that you'll be able to use to get another customer and then another customer and then another customer after that. All right. So I look forward to seeing you guys again next week right here on the Online Business Success Show. In the meantime, your comments, your questions, I will be here personally to answer, to share, and to empower you as best I can. Again, 20 years, 2 decades, you guys. I'm putting it all out there for you right now. It is time, and I'm so excited about doing that. And if you listen to the things that I say, then you will be able to have 20 years plus of success in your business too. So I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great week, you all. Bye-bye.